The 10 historical Halloween monsters that will make you so terrified. The traditional lineup for a traditional Halloween party includes ghosts, vampires, mummies, and witches. Although we have learned to love and fear these animals, do we really understand the origins of their legends? How did brooms come to be linked with witches? Black cats too? How long have ghosts been pestering humans? Was there a real-life model for the Headless Horseman? The dead lived next door to mummies, right? That one might give you a little fright. So, if you love Halloween, continue watching, and don't forget to tell your friends about your favorite frightening fun fact at your annual costume party. And please leave us a comment about your favorite Halloween monster. 1. A battle on the Isle of Mull in 1538 is where the Scottish Headless Horseman got its start. The fabled Headless Horseman has long terrified young children in October. Eogan ap Chine Big, also known as Ewan of the Little Head, was the unfortunate man who served as the tale's inspiration. Ewan's wife kept pressuring him to ask his father for more land, but every time he did, his father said no. When his father had had enough, there was a breaking point in their argument, and at the time, the only way to resolve clan conflicts was through an armored confrontation. Ewan stumbled across a fairy who could glimpse the future while riding his horse the day before the war. She assured Ewan that if butter was put on the breakfast table the following morning, he would win. He would lose if he had to ask for butter. Ewan completely forgot about her remarks the following day until he needed to ask for butter. He was now concerned as he entered the conflict, but he continued to charge. This was his downfall. After plunging into the fray, Ewan was exposed, and a rival clansman swung his sword and promptly hacked off his head. The eerie story is based on Ewan's horse. He was so terrified by the incident that he continued fleeing for miles while carrying Ewan's headless body. 2. Banshees have the potential to be both death-harboring spirits and guardian-type creatures. A banshee was a woman of some kind, young, old, beautiful, or haggard with long hair who would scream bloody murder in Irish tradition. Actually, quite literally. Yes, the banshee's cry could only be heard just before a family member would pass away. It was frequently thought that the banshee's cries could only be heard by the person who was about to die. Banshees were ladies who, while alive, loathed their families and could now haunt them with great delight. Many of us have heard that banshees are wicked or malevolent. However, there can also be good-natured banshees, whose melodies were infused with grief and affection for the impending death of a loved one. The banshee mythology appears to have originated in the 8th century, when women were hired to perform memorial songs for a departed loved one. Some of these ladies took alcohol in exchange for their services. As a result of this unsavory trade, the women were despised and later served as an inspiration for the screaming creatures of death. 3. The vampire woman that may have its roots in the Hindu goddess Kali. One of the most distinguishing characteristics of a vampire that comes to mind is their protruding, pointed fangs. How else might they obtain the blood they so much want? While there are many antecedents for our current conception of vampires, depictions of Kali, the Hindu goddess of death and destruction, had a significant influence. It was reported that Kali had human arm skirts or girdles, bloody teeth, and a necklace made of severed heads. One of Kali's most well-known tales involves her conflict with the demon Raktabij, also known as Blood Sea. Raktabij's blood caused another demon to reanimate every time it touched the earth. Kali then got the wonderful notion to leap upon the beast and guzzle all of its blood. When she was finished, he was unable to reanimate, making Kali the winner. 4. The South American Chinkoro people were making mummies 2,000 years before the Egyptians were and may have openly lived among the bodies. Over 7,000 years ago, the Chinkoro people inhabited what is now Peru and Chile. It appears that their climate started to become less harsh around 5000 BC, which allowed the population to flourish. However, more people also meant more dead bodies, and under their environment's desert-like conditions, these bodies didn't decompose. It has been hypothesized that the Chinkoro people began mummifying their deceased as a result of this lack of decomposition. It's thought that the community may have continued to live their normal lives among the dead when they returned to the earth, because the remains were there for such a long time, and the Chinkoro people buried shallow graves. They wanted to make sure their dead looked excellent as a result. This required a time-consuming process that included dissecting the bodies, loading them with clay, stitching the skin back on, painting the bodies black, and dressing the bodies with wigs. No of their status or age. Everyone who died underwent this procedure. 5. The Pukwudgie, a 3-foot goblin, is North America's oldest mythological creature. Every location has its own mythical creature, such as the Yeti, Bigfoot, and Loch Ness Monster. The Pukwudgie, a short, human-like monster with a dog-like nose, is the first detailed monster to be shown in North America. According to some reports, they have smooth gray skin that can shimmer and resemble a half-porcupine. The Wampanoag, Mohican, and Algonquin people were the ones who first told the Pukwudgie legends. They don't all share the same opinions, though, regarding the cunning little critters. The tribes of the Great Lakes think that while they can be troublesome, they are mostly benign. On the other hand, the Northeast Algonquian people think that if you don't provoke the Pukwudgies, they won't bother you and won't turn violent. This authentic Pukwudgie crossing sign was erected in a location with particularly high sightings in Massachusetts, where the Pukwudgie is frequently sighted. 6. The inspiration for Frankenstein by Mary Shelley and The Vampire by Polidori came from the same getaway. The year without a summer was how people referred to 1816. The temperature of the entire Earth has decreased due to the Indonesian volcano Mount Tambor's eruption the previous year. Therefore, what would have been a nice vacation to Lake Geneva ended up being a chilly and dark undertaking. With this weather as their backdrop, Lord Byron, Dr. John Polidori, Mary Shelley, and her future husband Percy Bysshe Shelley all wanted to find something else to do while on holiday. Frankenstein was created by Mary Shelley after Lord Byron suggested a contest for ghost stories. However, Polidori also found inspiration for his brief prose piece The Vampire during this writing session. Bram Stoker, who wrote Dracula, which was published nearly 80 years after Polidori's masterpiece, drew inspiration from The Vampire. 7. The practice of witches flying on broomsticks may have originated from a lewd and hallucinogenic shamanic ritual. Imagine the scenario if the Wicked Witch of the West had merely roamed the streets. She wouldn't have been nearly as frightening. No, what made her stand out as the magical antagonist of Oz was her trademark broom flying. But whence did the notion that witches ride broomsticks originate? There are a few different theories, I suppose. Unfortunately, since brooms have come to stand for household chores, women have always been connected with them. Brooms and women were therefore already closely associated in the minds of the majority of people. When the age of demonizing witches emerged in the 15th century, brooms were discovered in the homes of convicted witches, which strengthened the link, because who else in their home would have a broom? At that time, it was thought that witches actually applied their created magical potions with the use of broomsticks. Witches were thought to have absorbed the medicines through their skin, specifically through their more intimate body parts, as opposed to just drinking them. 8. The origins of the werewolf can be found in the ancient Roman poet Ovid. There have been werewolf stories for a very long time. The Greek historian Herodotus described a tribe of men that transformed into wolves for a portion of the year about 425 BCE. It turns out that this tribe originated in what is now Russia. As a result, they were probably utilizing wolf skins to stay warm. However, the ancient Roman poet Ovid is responsible with the actual change of a man into a wolf. Ovid described Lycaon, a despot who beheaded and dismembered someone who was under Zeus' protection. Zeus, understandably furious, punished Lycaon for his heinous actions by transforming him into a wolf. Ovid goes into great detail describing what Lycaon experienced as he turned into a wolf. 9. The Gallus, a pre-Islamic mythological demon, may have some relationship to the ghoul. The demons of the 8th century were no fools. These animals, known as ghouls, loved to prey on humans and feast on their flesh. They even pretended to be stunning women in order to kidnap and murder lustful guys. The name Galu, a prehistoric Mesopotamian god, may have been the source of the Arabic term ghoul, from which we derive the word ghoul today. 10. During the English witch trials, simply owning a black cat was enough to get you arrested. Many things could prompt an investigation into alleged witchcraft during Queen Elizabeth I's witch trials in the 16th century. One of them was having a broom, as evidenced by this list. One more was having a pet. Back then, any animal might be used as evidence of witchhood. Despite the fact that today the black cat is linked with witches, though the cat was the most popular. Dogs, toads, birds, and rats were included in this. These creatures were thought to represent the devil in a different form, whom the witch has a deal with. The witch was given the ability to harm people by binding this animal to their soul. Additionally, the witch was said to often feed this animal with her own blood. Thanks for watching, and please don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment for more content like this.